I'll try to project. Christopher Luna is our poet laureate.
I'm going to shut the doors, Donna.
Good.
We won't be able to hear.
Okay.
2012?
Oh, the first term was 2013 to 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in 2013, the Clark County Arts Commission decided that we should have a poet laureate. We've never had one before. And we very quickly discovered that Christopher Luna had no peer to compete with at the time at all. And we were thrilled when he said graciously he would love to be our poet laureate. So he is now in his 4th year, and he is really taking the literary arts to a new level. He has been able to go into the schools and work with students, and as well as having many open mics all around the community. Currently, you're at the Niche. Is that correct? Once a month?
There's a workshop at Niche once a month, and right next door at Angst, which is also owned by Leah Jackson, we have the Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic, which has been going on here since 2004, here in Vancouver. Yeah.
So, without any other accolades, I introduce Christopher Luna, our poet laureate.
Thank you.
Christopher, could you wait a minute while our
Sure.
instruments leave?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
So this gives us another opportunity to say thank you to these wonderful musicians. So can we give them a hand while they're coming up? And I think, we'll be okay even if the doors are open. I don't want anyone to feel shut out of anything either. So what I'm very grateful to the Clark County Arts Commission. I'm very grateful to everybody involved in this event tonight. It's really amazing that people would show their support in such a tangible way for what we're trying to do. And most poets laureate in the world have some kind of a project. So I would say that my main project since getting the title has been Poets in the Schools. So that we have successfully launched and will continue. And that's one of the things that the benefit is for, to try to make more official and more professional this thing that we've already been doing for quite some time, which is sending poets who have an education background and a passion for teaching into the local schools to help sort of spark that in the local kids here in Clark County. So I'm happy that that will be continuing, and I'm happy that this benefit is going to help us to do that. So thank you all for being here and contributing to that in any way that you did. So I prepared about 15 minutes of some of my work. If you can't or don't want to stay for 15 minutes, don't feel obligated, but I just thought I'd give you an idea of what to expect. I'm going to have it backwards. And you can't get away from a Christopher Luna reading without some announcements, but I'm going to hold off on those. We'll just get into it. So the first one is called Intend to Attend. A beautiful chaos, this life, a world of pure potential. Tomorrow the discomfort index will be quite high. The weight of too many outbursts strung around my neck like an albatross. Ghosts glimpsed at the periphery, undefined blur caught by insufficient retina. Fractals behind the eyes, the moment's gonna get you. Nurture it like a serpent to your breast. Like a neutron caterwaul, moments away from a fatality. Skeleton falling apart, filled with the seeds of all the troubles and blessings of existence, but also provided with the sustaining virtue, hope. So that's a poem I call them collage poems because I'm working with found material, but it's not all poets. Sometimes it's dialogue from movies, sometimes it's overheard conversation, just things that friends have said. But some of the poets that were in there are Herb Stokes, who's a local poet, Lee Noble Davidson, Doug Marks. There's also a quote from Wayne Shorter in here, and the last line was from Joseph Campbell. So I'd just like to be transparent about my borrowing there. If you want to know who said what, you'll have to talk to me after. This poem is called An Assertion That Tolerates No Company. Firebringer, hold up. It's too early for your righteous fury, too soon to unfurl your karmic surprise. Reversals address displacement and linkage, the contradiction and the paradox, entirely transcended and totally transposed. Settle into a hypnotic river of sound, Haunt and be haunted. Intuition is the fire, freight train, your Friday night nickname. Moments from a fatality, keeper of the secret heart of rivers proclaims, there's more good, and there's more joy, and there's more happiness in life than there is the opposite, and it will be back. There's that one. And then there's an artist, a local artist named Vicki Lynn Wilson, and I was asked to write a poem to go with a piece of her art that was displayed in the City Hall building. I might not have the building right, but the building where the mayor has his office.
Yes.
That's the City Hall building, right? Yeah, so this was the poem I wrote for that piece of art by Vicki Lynn Wilson. It's called Strata. Stone history written by she, mindful enough to tell the story first. Brave archaeologist, lover of ephemera. Surfs the detritus in search of an artifact that will stick, a narrative that rings true. Results in the construction of a towering spiral held together with brick, mud, and magical thinking. Pillar draped in memory's fog, yet translucent enough to let the ghosts sing through. Yeah, thanks. This is another collage poem, and the title comes from one of our previous Washington State Poets Laureate, Kathleen Flanagan. And actually, yeah, there are other local people in here. There's dialogue from Doctor Who and from a film called Poetry, which I would recommend. Translated dialogue from that film. So it's pretty short. I will try to italicize my voice. The time for subterfuge is past. I am an armature. I do like flowers and say odd things. Have quite simply forgotten the name of my universe. An invisible party hides around human beings, an alchemy in the margin, enormous, visible, or conspicuous, or at any rate, underlying. Hope and doubt linked forever in dance, so I blow them up with love. And another collage one, this one has Bruce Springsteen is in here. Dialogue from The Corpse Vanishes, 1942. Charles Mingus. A few lines from the movie Touch and from the film Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. This is a deeply personal business and it demands respect. This Professor Lorenz is a hypnotist as well as a horticulturalist. It's a geography of the spirit for him. Writing this thing on communicating with the divine spirits. 1 million birds came to the window. Felt he was on the same beam, man. Tuned in the same. Millions of birds, man. What they really pay you for is to be as present and alive as you can be. We create the illusion of stasis. You've got to destroy that mattress. It has to be rebirth on a nightly basis. So the next poem is actually quite a bit more personal than those other ones. I try to make the collage poems say what I would like to say. Use the found material to do that. This is very different in the sense that this next one is more direct. This is me being as direct as I can get with this stuff. Called We All Share This Weight. And I dedicate this poem to my brother Dan, who's dealing with some serious health issues, and my cousin Christopher Washington, who was killed in a car accident not too long ago. We all share this weight. Every person in every family is tied to every other by the same thread of blood, joy, and sacrifice. No family escapes struggle, heartbreak, and loss. Each time our blood experiences infection, we are all infected. Commits a crime, we all bear the weight. Or is taken in a flash of viscera and steel, we share the sense of unfairness in the suddenness of its finality. And while all this loss is as natural to us as breathing, we persist in our fight to protect each other from its inevitability. In our hearts, we dress your wounds, make amends, forgive the unforgivable, do the time, remind each other to take caution as we take to the road. Brother, may I dress your wounds, take on your burden, drive the car for a while? I'd gladly put myself in your place if it would help you escape the pain and death promised to us all. So dedicated to Dan because he's alive but needs to do some serious things to keep himself alive, and to my cousin because he was just taken from us suddenly the way that happens sometimes. This is called Mosaic Strands. Memory, slippery as God, evolves as age revises the context of its meaning. The story reprinted in variant editions as the source grows foggy, embittered, disillusioned, the narrative chiseled away to reveal ego desire, paints the most flattering picture. He can no longer recall his indiscretions. She chooses not to remember him as he was before he violated her. Despite reality's inherent messiness, its eternal complications, we fear being outed as selfish, mean-spirited. We are invested in coming across as heroic, must not reveal ourselves to be merely human. Flawed and driven to conquer, prone to subtraction, diminishment, division, derision, rather than determined to remain our sister's stalwart keeper. Fractal trail of glances trajectory as the eye scans the room reveals the heart's true narrative, or else simply the hunger at the base of all human activity. Liminal lamentations burst forth from sleep's imagination to slither southward into your melodrama, sunburn outlasted by sitting where you are expected. Loop-de-loop cancer ward diadem, outstretched breath like caramel powder puffs applied quickly while waiting for the children to arrive. The table is set, our correspondence attended to. Meet you at the opening between this and that. No one has been assigned to guard the threshold. There's more to all of it than you suppose. The universe expands in direct correlation to your willingness to see it. Yeah. So in private conversations, I've talked to people about how sometimes people's introductions to their poems are longer than the poems. So even though I'm feeling an impulse right now to explain this poem, I'm going to see if I can let it speak for itself. Aim right for their third eye for Angelo Luna. That's my son. In fact, Angelo goes to BSAA, so we're happy about that. Aim right for their third eye. Yes, I know it happens. I get that it's possible. But how often is one present at the exact moment that their offspring first has their consciousness cracked open? Heart burst by truly grokking a great work of art. After initially complaining about its lameness, Angelo stared into the Mona Lisa's left eye until the tectonic plates shifted. Stars exploded, and he was blasted through the doors of perception and into the light of a more interesting future. A psychedelic freak show, a cosmic love fest, the eternal be-in. Once you've opened those doors, you need never do so again. Yeah, and I mean, it really was this heavy thing to be there as it happened. I know that happens to people, it's happened to me, but we're sitting at the table at the end of the night, I'm also like bleary-eyed, and he has this book open, and first it's what you might expect a 15-year-old reaction to the Mona Lisa to be, and like his father, he was able to complain in great detail about how awful he thought this painting was. And then something shifted. And I think that's why we do what we do in the arts community, is that belief that all you need to do is shift someone's perception just a little bit to like begin the process of cracking their heads open, cracking their hearts open, and opening everything for them. So this is also pretty direct for me. Letter to a young poet. When in uncharted linguistic territory, how does one measure voice, emotion, meaning? Explaining these things is not your job, nor should you feel obligated to solve complex mathematical equations or decode life's existential mysteries. Not everyone's cut out to be bard, prophet, shaman. However, we do expect you to look closer, think harder, endure more than the sorry proles struggling to survive in a self-imposed fog designed to help them forget that they've handed it all over to a master who deserves neither their obedience nor their respect, that their time is not theirs, that their souls are neither significant nor ascribed any particular value. They're counting on you to show them the way, to remind them of all they've lost, to reacquaint them with their humanity, reintroduce them to their agency, to help them recall why each breath is a gift and each moment the only precious commodity worth preserving. Yeah. So I feel about that. I'm just making sure I know where all my stuff is. All my pages are here. Okay, yeah. So poets are always revealing personal details, I think, in every poem. but not the details you think they're revealing. And we're not always telling the truth. Just like fiction writers, we make stuff up. We embellish, we add things. So the piece of this poem that I'm about to read that's true is the tiny man in the poem. Tiny man distracts from contemplation of infinity. How gently has night, secret lover, bound by neither vow nor contract, delivered you into a circle of ghostly deliverance, devoid of daylight's mundanity. You have to get rid of one of those delivers. Every night as I attempt to fall to sleep, a tiny man screams at me from deep inside the fibers of my pillow, admonishing me, ranting nonsense and inscrutable mysticism to distract me from the contemplation of infinity, to prevent me from learning its origins and meaning. Mothers die, poets sicken, no stopping this deterioration. Every chair at this table will eventually be empty. No substitution for the living, breathing lover. Every brother, every sister will expire. Every sigh, every laugh, every cry fade. What is left? What remains? How does one continue after the duende has expired? So if you don't know what duende is, look it up. It'll be fun for you to find out all about it. Who knows who Federico Garcia Lorca is? Oh, good. So you already know about the duende, so you can smile knowingly. So I have one more, and before I read the last one, I want to say thank you again and make some announcements. One is that I work at Clark College. I do creative writing through the Community Education and Mature Learning Program, and Tracy Riley Kelly, my awesome and amazing boss over there, who has treated me like a literary superstar from the beginning of all this, is here, and I appreciate her being here, but she also brought some of the schedules. So if you think you would like to take a writing class with me in the winter, you can talk to me or Tracy after, and actually some of the people that have been in the classes are here tonight. So what I would probably do if you asked me about the class is say, go talk, ask them. Don't take my word for it. You know? And the reason that I'm Poet Laureate ultimately is because of the Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic. So in 2003, I'm not from here originally, I'm from New York. In 2003, where I didn't know Vancouver and Vancouver didn't know me, and I wasn't terribly happy about being here. It's a long story, but I was bored and I didn't know if there were any writers or who the writers were. And so I thought I could complain about it. I'm going to do that anyway. I'm a New Yorker, so I'll complain. Or I could complain and try to do something about it. And I guess I was filling a need in November 2004 because that first night we did it, when there was no title in front of my name and no one knew who I was, we packed Ice Cream Renaissance. That's where we started, was at the original location of Ice Cream Renaissance. So that told me that Vancouver had a lot of talented writers and Clark County had talented writers and they just needed a place to go. So we've been providing that now for about 12 years and we'll keep doing it as long as they keep coming. And now, all these years later, we're not the only ones doing it, which also makes me happy. I never wanted a monopoly on poetry in Vancouver. I know that it's a scene once there are choices, once people have other places to go, and now they have some other places to go. So what else? Anything else? Oh, come with us to the mall. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. To the food court at the Westfield Shopping Center on December 13th, when we will launch Poetry Moves. Poems from Clark County residents, myself and my wife Tony, we host Ghost Town, and we also have Printed Matter Vancouver, which is a small press here and editing service here in Vancouver. We judge the contest of adult poets here in Vancouver, and so there'll be 10 poems that'll be on, I think they told me there's 166 buses in Clark County, beginning on December 13th. It was supposed to happen at the beginning of January. C-Train is so excited about it that they said, we're going to get the poems on the buses by the time this event happens on December 13th. So I'm hoping that people will come, hear the poets, and then get on the buses and so they can check it out. So anyway, I'm saying that out loud to you that they'll be ready because they told me. So now they have to actually do it. So yeah, come and join us and celebrate that. And so what we have here, because Karen Madsen of Arts of Clark County was instrumental in making this happen. And so we have the cards that are going to be on the buses and the balloons, which will also be at that launch event for Poetry Moves. So maybe after, if you want to take a look at some of the poems. And our videographer, Tiffany, was one of the winners. So just above her head, you can see her poem, her lovely poem. So this is my last one, and this is, I haven't written a lot of poems that are about the experience of being a poet laureate, because you want your poems to come organically and naturally. And so, you know, I sometimes write poems to poets, but I don't necessarily write about the business of all of that stuff. So this is about an amazing thing that happened that would not have happened if I wasn't, going around visiting schools and libraries because of the poet laureate position. It's called Schooled by the Young Poets of Ridgefield, Washington. Half a dozen prepubescent and adolescent boys, persuaded by their librarian to stick around after the Dungeons and Dragons program, listen patiently to the adult poems about weather, life on the Gulf Coast, and holding on to one's mysticism. They devour a large tray of chocolate chip cookies and ask thoughtful questions. One wonders what I meant by destroying the capitalist nightmare from within. Listens carefully as I explain that in America, those whose work does not generate a steady income are considered less valuable people than others. Occasionally, one of the kids uses a tablet to look up unknown words. Finally, they can no longer contain themselves, leap from their seats to take over the podium, grab volumes of poetry by Basho and Sam Hamill, displayed on a nearby folding table. The kids read the poems slowly, earnestly, and with great care. Some even recite poems from memory, showing the professors how it is done. Giggle and leap about like magical elves to remind us that poetry is a joy before it is a vocation.
Going around the various schools in Clark County, and he really is taking the literary arts, particularly, specifically poetry, to a new level. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody in the Clark County Arts Commission, everyone with Arts of Clark County, and anyone who participated in any way in making this wonderful event happen. And it's gratifying to me to know. I mean, this is the way that people can show support for the arts, is to show up to something like this. Whether you decide to buy something or not is totally up to you, right? But getting yourself here is it's a beautiful thing, and you know that's what you could do. Is sometimes just your presence is what we need. You know? So I'm thankful for your presences.
So the proceeds of anything you buy tonight will be going to Christopher for the literary arts program that he will be developing for 2016. So go buy some stuff.
So if I wanted to go to your Ghost Town Poetry,
yeah,
where would that be?
That's
and
at
when
Banks
would
Gallery
it
on Main Street. It's right next to the Kiggins Theater, so it's really easy to find. And I've got flyers for it on the table with my books just around the corner.
Where is that table?
It's in that, I don't know what that little room is called. The training room, yes. And I can't promise there'll be any poetry training, but I can talk to you about the books and about the series. Yeah, so December 10th is the next one, and all the information you need is on that flyer in there. Yeah.
Could you say what happened when your son saw the Mona Lisa's eye and what you did, and would you tell that?
Well, he wanted to write a poem, you know? He's been coming to, his first poetry reading was a reading I did in New York City at St. Mark's Poetry Project there. It's a famous thing that's been going on since the 60s, and he was like 3 months old or something. Then when I started the series here, once I was out here, he was with me most of the time. He was 4 when I started it. And so I think the way that you teach children that the arts are valuable and meaningful is to just expose them to it. So if he wanted to play a game or draw or, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't forcing him to sit down and listen to poets, but he was often in the room while poetry was happening or while art was happening. And I tried to take a real soft touch with it. So Angelo's immediate reaction after this mind-blowing experience was to write a poem on his phone about it, and then I wrote my poem about watching this happen, probably either like the same night or the next night. And yeah, and actually that's a good segue to another announcement. We're gonna, the 3 of us, my family, my wife Tony, who's also a poet, and Angelo and I will be reading at Paper Tiger on December 16th, and we were asked as a family, so we'll be reading each other's poems as well as our own poems. And it's a good open mic too. When I was talking about that scene that's here that grew, you know, that reading at Paper Tiger has been going on for quite a while with a few different hosts, and it's really fun.
Your son is a good poet. I've heard him read some of his poems. He's really excellent.
Yeah. Well, kids are more likely than adults are to read and write things that are fun. So kids are often superstars at our reading simply because they're willing to be goofy and silly.
I want to introduce you because you are a wonderful poet in your own right. And please come over here because they just got married.
They did.
She likes to be behind the scenes, but I dragged her out in front of the mic for Ghost Town, but that's about it. That's what she likes to do publicly right now. And the rest of the time she's hiding out, but it's true. Great poet, great organizer. Yeah. And so the reading started in 2004. We got together in 2007, and I hate those men who take credit for the great things that women do for them and with them in their life. All of my best ideas for Ghost Town post 2007 have come from Tony, and because I have someone to debrief with now after each reading about how are we better going to serve this community of poets, and so I just want to acknowledge that even if she's a lot quieter than me, she's brilliant and helps me with all of these things that I'm doing here in Clark County. So. All right, schmoozing by art, and I understand there'll be more music coming pretty soon, so I'm looking forward to that. And thanks for your attention, and I appreciate it.